Welcome to Let's Get Literary. Today I'm sitting down with Amy Nichols, author of This is the World That God Built. We'll chat with Amy about how her role as a teacher inspired her book, and of course discuss the importance of reading to your children, reading with your children, and keeping books in your home. So let's welcome Amy Nichols. Thank you for joining us on Let's Get Literary. I am so excited to hear about your book. So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're joining us from, what you do for a living, if there's anything you do besides write, and then tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay. Thanks for having me. My name is Amy Nichols. I am in West Virginia, coming from West Virginia, and I'm a first-time author. I am part-time author, full-time teacher, mom, volleyball coach, busy. So, but my book is This is the World That God Built. I got inspiration for this book. I was trying to grow my relationship with God, and I wanted to draw nearer to Him, and I was really praying about refocusing my life and my purpose. And I kind of wrote it I dedicated it to my kids. I wanted to, instill in them both a love for God and a love for reading. And so that's why I wrote the book. It's just been a whirlwind since then, because it released like right when everything was happening and shutting down with COVID. So it's kind of thrown me into the digital marketing, the social media marketing that I'm not comfortable with. And so it's been a slow build as I'm learning how to do everything. But it's exciting.
So tell me about the book. I know it's in nursery rhyme form.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you want to put all of your energy into a book? Why writing? And then share with us maybe a verse or two from the book.
Sure. Yes, it is. It's kind of to the tune of This is the House That Jack Built. And I wanted the nursery rhyme format because the musical sing-song quality of books appeals to children, and that repetition when they are learning to read is so important. And so that's why I chose that kind of format. And so I'll just read like the first couple of pages. And let's see, so this is the first one. Day 1, this is the world that God built. This is the darkness that covered the deep in the world that God built. These are the words, let there be light, that split the day from the dark of night in the world that God built. And it just keeps growing as you go along with the book. And it's just beautiful illustrations to kind of capture kids' attention. And me and my kids, we just have a really, wonderful time talking about the pictures and pointing at the words, and just beautiful illustrations, to kind of go along. This, I think, is one of my favorites too. Pointing at the camera, right?
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Who illustrated the books, and what look were you going for after you had written the story and the rhymes? What was that process like, from getting to your first draft to holding the book in your hand?
Well, the illustrator is Ekaterina Elena. She's out of Tbilisi, Georgia. St. Petersburg is where she's originally from, in Russia. And so I got up with her, hooked up with her, and I just I let her, I had a vision for the book, but and so we would kind of go back and forth as we were discussing, the illustrations. And I really just wanted bright, vivid illustrations to get children's attention. And I really wanted them to be artistic, because I think kids can really appreciate good art too. And so that was kind of like my vision. And we kind of messaged back and forth a lot and kind of worked things out. And so there was a few things I was like, no, I'm kind of envisioning this. And I mean, every single time that, she just exceeded my expectations with what she was able to do. And so I'm really, really happy with the illustrations.
As an educator, tell me what You mentioned that sing-song, rhyming, and repetition is very important. First of all, what do you teach? And how did you take your experience into, creating the book?
Yeah. So right now, I currently teach middle school math. I taught preschool for 7 years. And so that's where I have all the background with books. I've read, so many children's books in the 7 years that I was teaching preschool. And just knowing that repetition is important is where I went with the nursery rhyme, the sing-song quality. Um, and having knowing that with kids you want to be able to take a repetitive text or repetitive line from a text, and once they've memorized that, then you want to start working with that. And so with my little girl, like we'll work not just on beginning sounds and rhyme and that kind of stuff, but just like I'll take little strips like this is the world that God built, and I'll write it out, and I'll write out a few different then we might do this is the land gathered to lie, and they start with similar words, but then we'll start with matching sentences first, and then we'll cut those sentences up so that she can rebuild those sentences and focusing on the words. And the first time that we do that activity, the first time we did the matching, she was matching. Oh, these match. And I'm like, are you sure they match? Do they match? You look all the way through. They start with the same words, but then they become different. And so you're drawing their attention to the direction in which you read. You're reading from left to right. And so you build on those things. And so I think when I wrote the book, then I started playing with it and creating resources. So I've been creating resources to go along with the book now, just from like sequencing the days of creation to matching sentences, cutting up sentences, matching words, beginning sounds, all those phonological awareness things. It's really important to build your child's ear for sounds and that connection to reading written language.
What do your children think now about you being mommy, the author?
We read the book. Like I said, me and my little girl, we've been playing with it, and I use her as I'm creating things because she's 5, and so she came up to me a few weeks ago and was like, "Mommy, I want you to teach me to read." And I'm like, "Oh, I would love to." And so I started saying, "Okay, what can I do with this book now that I have it?" And so, not just learning about the story of creation, but also using that book to then help her learn to read and appreciate reading.
Tell me, what has it been like for you as an educator during the pandemic, and also as an aspiring author? You mentioned this world of digital marketing, which we are all in, same here as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
How have you been able to use technology to your benefit, and have you been doing any read alouds virtually?
I did do a read aloud for the Children's Hospital story time. And so I did that. I did an interview with Empowered Publicity, and just trying to, utilize Facebook and Instagram to kind of market my book, but it just doesn't feel natural. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not real salesy. So it's just uncomfortable, to really put yourself out there and to be, I'm not pushy. If my book resonates and you like it, great, buy it. If you don't, I'm not, it's not going to hurt me. I don't feel like an author. It's so weird, I guess, because it's my first book. It's more of a hobby, I would say, than, it's not like a full-time career. It's definitely, I love being a teacher. I love being an educator. That's where, my passion is working with kids. And so this was so unexpected, really. When I wrote the book, and I started sending it out to, publishers, I was just shocked that I got a response and was like, okay, now what? And so it's been new, and it's been just a learning process, really, but it's been fun.
I think that your love for this really shows. I see you mentioned, you're not here to be pushy, you're not here to really urge people necessarily, but I do think that social media has been really helpful in connecting people,
Hmm.
with us, using us as an example even.
Yes. Yeah.
um, and I think that because people are remotely working and have more access to their computer and social media, more so than maybe they did while in the office or in their full-time careers, what books
Hmm.
can you tell me that you read that inspired you, or even as a child that had a deep meaning and resonated with you?
Definitely any kind of nursery rhymes. I love nursery rhymes. Just as a mom, those were one of my go-tos. Reading to my children when they were, when my son, he's 11, when he was younger, really reading those nursery rhymes. Any um, fairy tales, also, the big popular ones, the Three Little Pigs, Jack and the Beanstalk, Little Red Riding Hood, all of those ones that you can read again and again and again, and then you can have have the kids tell it to you. After I've read the story so many times, then I'll just tell the story, and then I'll let my little girls tell the story to me. And it's fun, and it's fun to hear them, and for them to remember so much of it. And I think that that's what the repetition does, and that's why nursery rhymes, I think, are important, because they're short and they're that song quality, and kids can remember that. And so those are the kinds of books that I wanted, that were kind of inspirational for this. Was just, I wanted something that was going to be um, repetitive and have a musical quality to it, and be something that they can remember and that they can learn from that.
You touched on the fact that you read with your daughter, you do these beautiful sentence strips with your daughter and reading exercises.
Mhm.
Something that our organization tries to promote, besides getting books into the hands of children who can't afford them, is
Mhm.
the importance of literacy and the power of reading. I mean, for anyone watching and listening,
Mhm.
reading really is the foundation of knowledge. Um,
Sure.
what have you seen that you could share with us and to show why it's so important?
I definitely think that to get kids really excited about reading and literacy, you have to model it at home. You have to have a love of reading. You have to surround your children with books. Buy books. Books are great gifts for children. You don't always have to buy them toys. Toys get trashed. Books get read again and again. And there's always something new you can pull out of a book to learn from, and that you can apply to teaching. And so, and with my son, it was a little bit more of a struggle to get him to like reading. And so, I think that getting, finding books that are interesting to them, finding a topic that they like, because my son wasn't really interested in a lot of the books that I was reading. Um, but he loved all kinds of like history information. He wanted to learn about Titanic. He wanted to learn about tornadoes and natural disasters and cars. He loves cars. So once we started getting books that appealed to what interests him, then he started getting more interested in reading. And now, that he's older, he's getting interested in, adventure books and adventure stories and things like that. So I think that it's really important to just surround kids with books, read books with them. We started reading when they were newborns. You just have them on your lap while you're rocking and you're reading, and that just develops. They like to hear that. They like to hear your mother's voice. They like to hear, they like to see the pictures. They like to hear the story. And so I think that that's really important for literacy, is just being surrounded by books, reading to them as much as possible, helping improve their vocabulary, exposing them to more words.
I agree. I think engaging with your children and showing that you love books and you love reading. Listen,
Hmm.
we always learn about how they're modeling after you, right? Everything you're doing, they're watching. I think being excited about reading and about reading a book together,
Hmm.
that's what keeps them excited. What was your timeline like when you had the idea to create this book from the moment you held it in your hands? How long did that take?
Okay, so I wrote the book right about this time last year, and so from there it wasn't until about October, I think, that I heard back from a publisher that and got the offer of publication. And then from there started finding an illustrator and working with the illustrator. And so it was March before I got to hold my book. And so it was so exciting, when I got that first demo copy and was able to hold it. I was like, this is mine. I did this, and it's so exciting. But it's a process, it did. It took a while, especially and you got to find an illustrator that, is able to work on the book. And I think that might have been what took the longest. The illustrations definitely took longer than me writing it. From the moment that I was inspired to write it, I had it wrote in like 7 days. My kids weren't there. They were away for the week. And I just focused all of my time on getting the ideas down, editing. And, I had the written part down. So the illustrations definitely took longer, and finding somebody that, I was happy with their style of illustrating took a while, and then just giving them the time to work.
So I'm curious, if social media wasn't your go-to necessarily, how do you find illustrators? What is that process like?
Yeah, so I didn't know, so I just kind of started. I started looking on Behance, and then from there I looked on Fiverr, and I actually was able to connect with my illustrator on Fiverr, but she did she felt more comfortable doing working through Upwork. So we went through Upwork, and that's how, because I was on social media, but I wasn't using social media, and there's a big difference between being on social media and using it and learning how to, build an audience and connect with people that, that are your tribe and that, resonate with the things that are important to you with you. And so that's been something that's just a slow grow, and it just takes time.
I think that you don't need to sell per se. I
Right.
think that finding your tribe, like you said, on social media, it's going to come for you so much quicker than you really believe. I really do think that. I mean, we're only about 2 years old, and we have a presence on social media for sure, but it's not huge by any means. Um, I do think that for Hindi's libraries, at least, we've been able to grow because of social media.
Hmm.
And I take the time once a week. I schedule my posts for the week on Facebook. Every morning on Instagram, I have what I need to do ready, 2 or 3 posts a day. Same on Twitter, and just networking. I think that going back to what we spoke about earlier, the pandemic threw us all for a loop, right? And we're kind of all in this new age of communicating through Zoom and through Facebook and through texts. I think that it's very intimidating,
Yeah.
especially for those of us who are used to face or who aren't comfortable in general asking strangers for help, because that's really what we're all doing right now, is connecting
Yeah.
with strangers. But working together, there's such a community, and I've been speaking to so many authors who, by the way, said the exact same thing you said.
Right.
Their book is out and now they're really overwhelmed because they need to now market
Yeah.
digitally in this new world.
Yeah.
But there are places for people like you, people like me, on social media that are here to help us promote what we're looking to share. We both have stories. You have a story, and we have Hindi's Libraries has a story. And there's certainly somewhere for us to all grow and unite. And you'll be surprised what you find. I found so many incredible people just since the world kind of went on pause, who have helped us remotely share our story. And it's been beautiful. And I hope that for you as well, you take this, instead of being this scary place where there are like vultures out there, I hope you take it as this is a group of people who do what you do or promote literacy in one way or another. And we're all here for each other. And I think if you take it in that perspective, it doesn't become as intimidating. It becomes much more fun,
Right.
kind of grow and connect and network.
Mm-hmm.
I like to ask my authors, we spoke about, you mentioned the Three Little Pigs and Little Red Riding Hood, but
Mm-hmm.
I like to always put my interviewees on the spot and ask for a children's book quote or a phrase that really inspires you. And if you need to pause, we can pause and think about it. And it could be something you've read to your kids more recently, or it could be something you read as a little one. And it doesn't need to be exactly the phrase, but a lesson or a scene that really struck you in a book.
Dr. Seuss is one of my favorites. It's one of my kids' favorites. We just love the rhyming, but oh, the places you'll go, and I think that that's so true. Life is, well, I never thought I would be an author. I never thought, I didn't know what I wanted to do for the longest time, even though I went to college and I got my first degree. I was like, I still don't know what I want to do. It wasn't until later that, I was like, I really want to be a teacher. And I went back and got my master's and then started teaching. And that's kind of where I found my calling. But things change. Life changes constantly. And I think just being open to all the places that you're going to go and the things that you're going to do and see. And so that really resonates with me.
I think that's such a beautiful message. If you look at our story, for those of you watching, our organization developed very organically. We did not know we were becoming something. Let's put it that way. When Hindi passed away and we created a little free library box in her memory, we were that was our mission.
Mm-hmm.
And we were two full-time parents with our own respective families, our own respective full-time jobs. And this organization kind of sprouted on its own because of what we created in the school for our kids. And I think what you said is great. You don't always know where you want to go or need to know where you want to go.
Yeah.
And like Dr. Seuss says, you're gonna, he also says, you'll move mountains, kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. We are all on this journey. We're all on this path. And every day something will change that we may not be able to control. And we'll grow with it. And you didn't know, but then you became a teacher. And even more so, life took you on this path to become an author and write this beautiful story. Who knows what it will bring? But these are great words of inspiration that it's never too late. You're still growing. We're still growing constantly and evolving. Amy, tell us where our viewers can find you on social media to help you grow and to help share your story.
Absolutely. On Instagram, it's humble.happy.life. And then I also have a Facebook author page, amy.nichols.author. I also have a website, amynicholsauthor.com. And so you can get my book through Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or you can purchase through my author website, and I will send, a signed copy. So I would love for anybody to reach out and connect with me on my social media.
I love your Instagram handle. It's just exactly what I had said about you. That's exactly what it feels like. Like happy, humble soul that's just so excited to do what you're doing. But it really isn't often you get to come across someone who really has such a wonderful story to tell, who took into mind what children like and how children can get reading by using repetition, by using rhymes. I love rhyming. I write poetry as a hobby. I always rhyme it, and I love reading Shel Silverstein with my daughter. I love reading Dr. Seuss. Whenever a book rhymes, to me, it just catches my ear that much quicker, and I love it. It's much more fun for me to read, whether it's the tempo, the beat. But Amy, you're just awesome, and I hope that whoever listens to this gets your book, learns about you, and shares your story.